Hi, I'm Richie Mackay.
And I'm David Bolt, and you are listening to the Wrong Bias Podcast. And on today's show, we've got two guests, and that is Lorraine Kuhler and KatherineRednall, who I'm now renaming the Terrible Twosome. I'm looking forward to the Christmas bloopers coming out this year, because we had quite a few during this show and had a really good laugh. But the both of them came on, and we've been having a chat about the women's game and where it is in comparison to years gone by. Both the girls take on my Balls or Balls challenge. We have our normal competition, sponsored by Alex Marshall Sports. Myself and Richie have a little bit of a catch-up on a couple of topics, a poll that we ran earlier on in the week, and also Richie has a little bit of a short roundup.
Here we are, show number 17, and in wedding anniversaries it's furniture, so let's all queue up at IKEA to get a table.
It sort of fits in nicely with me trying DIY for the first time during this nice weather and building myself a nice little outdoor garden bar out of pallet. When you put the pint glass on the top, it slides straight down.
Straight in your hand. Just to clear a couple of things up off our last podcast, we mentioned about the affiliation fees, and I did mention that the fee, £8.50, well, it is actually £8, and the counties get £3 and the Bowls England get £5. Comparing that with some of the other sports that I've done a bit of research on, Golf England £9.50, England Athletics is £15, and if you want to be a competitive swimmer, it's £27.75.
Very comparative, isn't it, with other sports?
Yeah, it is, mate. And when you think, I mean, they had a look at the AIBA's income last year, and they took in $318,000 in affiliation fees, so that just shows how dependent the sport is on it.
If you didn't have it, you'd have a club stuck in the middle of nowhere doing nothing. The affiliation fees there for your governing body to tie everything together and be what we've got.
It is. It's for the good of the sport. It's not back pocket money. It's for the good of the sport, and I think people's just got to realise that.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, if they don't want to, they don't have to pay it, and they can just be a social club, like we've said before. Right. The other thing that we mentioned was Bowls Measure app. We managed to find it. It was called Bowl R Meter. It's a French thing. I gave it a whirl. Apart from the adverts, you can buy your advert-free version of it. It works, but it's a bit long-winded. It's a bit of a faff, mate. It still doesn't beat putting the Mets on.
Yeah, I would imagine it's if you're out there in the middle of a game and it's tossing it down with rain, you're not going to be wanting a tablet or an app sitting in your bag getting soaking wet neither, are you? So it's you're going to be limited as to when you can use it.
If you don't wear glasses to bowl and you need your glasses on to do the app, it's a bit of a faff, mate. But it's not for me. Get the measures out and you'll just get the umpire out. And I put a poll out on the Bowl Sun and Facebook page about our ambassador and president's query. It was interesting. We had about 200 replies, and it came out slightly in favour of the presidents. When you look at the names that voted for the presidents, they are people who've probably played the game a few years, mate.
Definitely, aye. When we take the 43 family members that you got voting for you as well, I think we were about 50-50 in the end. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Brexit,
no, I think reading the comments, I think pretty split, really, isn't it? It was a few people weren't so supportive of having presidents anymore, but then the majority were. So for all it was a slim majority, there's still a lot of people believe in having a president in the club. And I've got no bias either way. It was purely opinion of what I think you could rename somebody in your club differently, and it's more just a name from my point of view. I like the stature of having somebody like that in the club. I just don't think president sounds ideal.
It's just a word, mate, isn't it?
It is completely, and it's like I say, it was nice. It was quite a good little, good response that we got, and a lot of people have taken the time to vote on that. So that was really nice to see. Didn't really get a definitive answer, but it just shows that there's still belief in both.
And now we catch up with England internationals Lorraine Kuhler and KatherineRednall. Take one.
Right. Katherine and Lorraine, welcome to the Wrong Bias Podcast. Much appreciated you coming on. This is where you score. No, that's no problem, Dave. Thanks very much. Straight away, yeah.
What a start.
Okay.
That's going straight in the bloopers.
Take two. How many goes
Right.
to get there?
Take
We're
two.
really quiet for one.
Just imagine we're sitting at a bar table having a drink. So,
I
here we
think they're trying to set you up, Davey. I think they've had a quiet conflab.
We're not speaking. We're on mute.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Right,
Can't be at a bar table because you'd have said something offensive or inappropriate by now.
yeah, well, we've got plenty of time for that. Right, we'll try that one again.
Take two.
Right.
It's a bit like Groundhog Day, this. I'm sure I've recorded this before. And now we catch up with England internationals Lorraine Kuhler and KatherineRednall. Take two.
Right, so Catherine and Lorraine, welcome to the Wrong Bias podcast. Much appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. It's good to be off.
No problem at all. Our sort of got you on this week because it feeds in nicely from, we had Rishi Prasad on a couple of podcasts ago, and he was talking a little bit about women's world bowls and what he thinks they could do down at Potters better. So what better than getting two of the most up-and-coming talents in England at the moment to come on and discuss where you think the women's game's at, etc. I don't want to go down the usual line of, obviously, when did you start, who got you involved. We've done all this type of thing before. So just for anybody who's listening, I'm just going to give a quick synopsis of you both. So Lorraine, you started to catch up with me and Richie age-wise. You hit 30 yesterday, so many happy returns.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for mentioning that.
No problem at all. I know you were really looking forward to your 30s. But, I think it would be fair to say, Lorraine, that you've really started to come to prominence over the last few years. You've now made the elite squads for England, just been selected for the World Championship squad that was due to go out this year, but obviously COVID put a stop to that. Previously, national triples winner in 2014, and I was proud enough to be there and watch you win your gold at the Atlantics in Wales in 2019. And then Miss Rednall, 24, is that right? 20?
Correct.
My God.
I'm not catching you up quite yet.
Did you start when you were 3?
I was 5, actually.
Right. So, obviously, Catherine, you've been on the scene for a long time now in relative terms with regards to what you've done in the game. Absolutely phenomenal. Commonwealth bronze medal, again, I was lucky enough to be out there when you won that in 2018 in Australia. You've won 3 Ladies World Championship, multiple national winner, especially the Champion of Champions, which should now be called the KatherineRednall Trophy. And I believe you won the mixed pairs indoors, the World Championships with Darren Burnett, was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was Darren, yeah.
So that's enough of bigging you two up because you're putting me into shady and I don't like it one little bit. So let's move on. The women's game, where are we at? Where do you feel the changes have come over the last, say, 5 to 10 years where you've been really at the heart of the women's game and obviously growing and getting yourself to the position you are today? What's the biggest changes would you say you think you've seen?
I think, to be honest, it's become, well, probably with the likes of television, a lot more TV coverage. I think the women's bowls game has really come to a forefront, certainly within the last few years. Wouldn't say it's quite sort of catching up with the men as of yet. Obviously, Potters does help it a lot, considerable amount. But I think, definitely it's come to prominence in terms of nationals, amount of spectators and the amount of people that tune into it, really.
Just going back on what I mentioned at the start of the show with regards to Rishi's comment, he'd mentioned about how he thinks there should be more women at that Women's World Championship at Potters, which I really tend to agree. I think it would put the women's game, I compared it to Wimbledon, because for me, rightly or wrongly, my opinion would be it would be great to have a Women's World Championship and a Men's World Championship like they do at Wimbledon, so create a bit of a, the top women in the game are ranked as they should be. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. I mean, Potters has done a great job for the women's bowls having it on the BBC, but, I've got to certainly support the idea of having qualifiers at the event. That's how I got there in the first. But I think it's definitely got to be more of a spectacle. You've got to have the exciting players on the telly. You've got to give viewers that maybe haven't played bowls before and haven't tuned into bowls before something to watch. They're having the stereotypical idea of bowls for somebody that's tuning in for the first time isn't great. So definitely having a women's world championship or making more of a spectacle of it, having entertainment on the telly in the form of bowls would only do wonders for me.
I'm always quite fair when it comes to WBT. I do put criticism out there, but I also, I'm always there saying if it wasn't for the WBT, we wouldn't have us on TV. But one thing I am very critical of is how you can not have your 3-time previous world women's champion at the tournament. That for me, it's not even right. Even if you were older and didn't show off what they wanted to show for the women's game, which is probably a completely wrong thing to say, because if you're good enough, you should be there. But that's the way the game's going to grow. People want to see the 3-time world champion, and in a lot of respects, they want to see the underdog beat you. So that, for me, took a big edge. And Ellen's the same boat. I mean, the two of you over the last couple of years have dominated the world singles, and then all of a sudden you've got 8 new women in there. Great to see some young girls, but where's the pedigree? Where's the star champions where they want to come down and see your Alex Marshalls and your Paul Fosters, etc., and your Greg Harlows, Nikki Bretts? You don't seem to have that same sort of representation in the women.
It was really hard for me not being there this year, both in terms of the mixed pairs and the singles. To watch it on the telly for me, I didn't even tune into half of it because it was a blow not being there. I think the thing that really makes it more difficult is that you don't get any point for being at Potters itself. So the only time I got any points to get myself on the ranking list was the year I qualified, which was 6-7 years ago now. So for actually being there and for winning it, I've got 0 points on the World Bowls Tour ranking list. So the only way you build those points up is to go to qualifiers, which I obviously haven't had to go to because I've been there automatically as a winner before and a runner-up one year as well. So it doesn't actually allow to build up any points. And I believe Ellen's in pretty much the same position as me. So having won it, I think it's 6 times between us. Neither of us have got any points to get anywhere near the leaderboard to actually get ourselves there. So if you play in every single qualifier going, which certain people do, you're always going to have enough points to get yourself there. It doesn't matter that you've never won it before, but you're still going to be there on points by winning a couple of rounds there, here and a couple of rounds there. But by actually being there and getting to the latter stage of the competition, qualifying, you get no points at all. So it's a really difficult system to overcome if you've not been competing in the qualifiers for whatever reasons.
It is, and for me, you want that women's side of the game to create in bowls the next 6-time world champion Alex Marshall, or in darts the 16 times champion of the world. You're at the age where you could absolutely set records or whatever. Ellen's the same, where you could rack up 10, 12 women's champions, and that for me is really sad that you're not given the opportunity to at least do that. If you got there having won it before and maybe got knocked out first round a couple of years, I could totally understand. Maybe you've had your period of time. Let's give somebody else a chance. But to be at your peak and to be recognised now as one of the best bowlers in the world and not be at that championships on the doorstep, for me, just doesn't make sense. And you're going to get a following because you're literally on the doorstep of where you are. So surely that's going to promote a bit more better crowd involvement as well. So I mean, it is really sad that, and hopefully, again, like I say, my thoughts would be, I think it would be great if we had a 32 women's as well. I know time restricts, but I just think if you had a 32 women or even a 16 women running alongside the men, I think it would create a much better tournament and give a little bit different dimension as well. Lorraine, do you enter the qualifiers for it?
I was going to. This is my first year. I've literally just signed up. I've put a jinx on it all. I signed up just before COVID, and this was going to be my first attempt. Mainly because singles isn't my forte really. So that's another thing with it, is that if someone doesn't see themselves as a singles player, then obviously that wipes that out for them as an opportunity in the game. And I think that's a little bit sad too. Not that I'm saying you could have every discipline at Potters, but even a short format of a pairs would bring people into it that maybe don't see themselves as a singles player, but do see themselves as a good team player, and showcase something a little bit different. For me, I think also it's about building up some rivalry, some healthy rivalry. You know, everyone wants to watch Nikki Brett versus Paul Foster. It's an England v Scotland game. You know, we all love it. It's healthy rivalry. Brings a bit of support into the final, should it be England Scotland or whatever it may be. And I think we need to create that in the women's game more. We don't have wouldn't it be great to watch, KatherineRednall play Julie Forrest? We want to be seeing that all the time. That's what you want. You want people to be tuning into that. So I think for me, if they had a little bit of seeding and then the qualifiers, that would be able to build up some sort of personalities, because that's what we need. We need personalities because you want the public to support the personality.
To be honest with you, you've just remind us there, and I apologise to Julie on that basis, because you've got somebody there who's now, was it 2 off the bounce she's won, Julie, for us?
Yeah.
So, what would the scenario be there if she didn't get enough points? Do you get there automatically if you win it? Or is it...
If you win it, yeah, you do.
So she would get back. So she gets her opportunity. But again, how good would the tournament be in a situation now where, let's say, you had you, Ellen, Julie, and past winners? I mean, you've got from Australia, you have Karen Murphy. Karen won it previously as well.
I think she's certainly been in fine.
Yeah, I mean, again, for me, that's just recognised. And we mentioned Joe Edwards. Just how good would it be to have feel like that? It would just be tremendous, and you could really big it up. I mean, you wouldn't be telling any lies by turning around and saying that you've got multiple world champions playing in the one event. And regardless of Karen sort of retiring from international bowls now, she's still a massive figure in the game. And I just think there's room to do a little bit more for you from that point of view. And don't think 8 justifies a world title. And that's not taking it away from you. I'm sure you would want it to be a top class field where you've got the opportunity to be able to qualify every single year to try and prove yourself year after year after year. So I'm not being derogatory in any shape or form. You're winning it in the past. You've beaten who's in front of you. But I just think there's other ways and means. But hopefully, like I say, we talk about it all the time, and hopefully that they'll look at these things. Talked about Nikki Brett's shot, that should be promoted. And Richie, any thoughts on that conversation?
Well, I'm just surprised when Catherine said that the women don't get any ranking points when they get there, because being one of my pet hates where the fellas win 1 or 2 games and they're guaranteed to get back the following year because of the ranking points. So that's another thing against it for me. You should be getting ranking points for every round you win, especially if you get down there. We've always advocated to get it up to 16 at least. More women on, the better.
Definitely.
What's your feelings about having a men and women's championship? Because that's kind of divided opinion, where the men and the women play in one championship.
Is that at Potters you're talking about?
Yeah,
Potters, yeah.
I think it's fantastic that it would be open. I think that would be the best idea going. There should be nothing that would ever stop men playing women in bowls. There shouldn't be any limitations on things being open. And I think you'll get certain people, and a lot of people, maybe women, that say, oh no, we'll never beat the men, we don't want to play them, sort of scared to. And then on the other side of the coin, you'll get men that don't want to lose to women. But, why should there be anything that says that it can't be an open competition, or the chance to be an open competition? Chuck a few women in that have done well as wild cards in the one singles, and you could get all sorts of surprises.
Especially in that format, especially in the sets format, it's such a leveler in some respects. I know it's a little bit of a longer format when you get to Potters, but even 9 sets, if you get someone get off to a really good start in a set and they nick it, and then all of a sudden you're in that tie break, I think you'd see some surprises, and I don't really see why women shouldn't be given the opportunity to showcase their ability to perform in that sort of arena, or under that kind of pressure.
So I totally agree. Chucking another sport in there now, in the darts, in the World Championships, you've got the World Championship, which men and women can play in, and then you've got the Women's Championship that you can also play in, and it runs exactly the same as what the bowls does. I just feel that there's possibly more avenues you could go down by having an individual Women's World Championship, an individual Men's World Championship, and then that moves on to like a Champion of Champions competition or something like that. Anyway, we need more in the sport, and I'd just like to see more bigger tournaments. And I just think at the moment, as long as that main World Championship, which is an open singles, stays the way it is, then it's only ever going to look like one tournament, because that's the main focus for Potters. The rest just seem to feed in. Whereas I would love to see like Wimbledon, like the tennis, where you've got the men and the women both battling it out in their own disciplines, try and become men's world champion, women's world champion, and then if you want to do something after that, then do a different tournament relating to it. So that's my only. I've got no objections at all, because at the end of the day, I've played the majority of you, and you have got every single right to be there. Julie Forrest absolutely tore me a new one in Carlisle a few years back in the PBAs. I absolutely just tried to batter everything, and I think I managed to scrape a tie break and just still beat them. But if I'd won the game, should have felt robbed. Like I say, I do relate to the point, and I do agree with the current setup. I just think there could be more for the women.
I think you're 100% right there. The whole Potters situation does revolve around the main championship, and the mixed pairs and the men's pairs and the ladies singles are just purely backup event for the main.
They just feel as if they're chucked in to fill time. That's all it feels like, and it's not fair on you, because that doesn't showcase any of the ladies for the talent that they are. It is just a bit of an invitation 8. Just feels as if the main draw is having a bit of a break for a couple of days, and the women sort of filter in for 2 days just to fill all the gaps in.
I think Lorraine hit the nail on the head, really, when saying, you have all the characters of the top 16 men, and you pay money to obviously go and watch a Nikki Brett versus Paul Foster final. I think Lorraine's exactly right. There is not the opportunity to get that with the women's game there at the moment. So many different faces there, which is a good thing. As I qualified, I've got nothing against having qualifiers there. And I think from a qualifier, you do often get a really strong competitor that could win the competition. But to have that character on TV and like the England-Scotland rivalry and whatnot, it'd do absolutely wonders for the televised game. It really would.
I do agree completely.
Welcome to Ruch's Roundup. But don't tell him. Cue the music. The British Isles Bowls Council has announced the following decisions due to the current COVID-19 outbreak. The 2020 British Isles Bowls Council Junior International Series has been cancelled. It has been rescheduled for September 2021 in Scotland at the National Bowling Centre in Ayr. Meanwhile, Wales will host the British Isles Championships and Senior International Series during July 2021 at Llandrindod, Dates for the women's events have yet to be confirmed, but the women's junior internationals will still take place at Llandrindod, and the senior internationals remain at Royal Leamington Spa. Anyone not sure if they have entered next season's EIBA national competitions are advised to check the list of entries that will appear on their website shortly. The EIBA are still hopeful that the postponed national finals will be able to take place towards end of September to early October 2020. With indications that there are some easing of the COVID-19 lockdown situation, thoughts turn to the indoor scene. To help indoor clubs, the EIBA have issued a guidance document to all affiliated clubs to help them start to make plans for how they can prepare to open, complying with the current self-distancing and hygiene directives. This document will be regularly updated by the EIBA. It looks like it's time for a quick getaway, as Ruchi has turned up on his chopper bike with tassels on the handlebars.
And now it's time for Richie's Roundup. What's that? Some fella called George has done it, but I've come in on me chopper. Oh well, I'm off then. Now we return to part 2 of our chat with Lorraine and Catherine as they tackle the open singles circuit.
Moving on to the open singles circuit, which is obviously a great innovation that was brought in a few years ago and now enables top-class competition for a decent little prize at the end of it, and it's a completely open competition. Anybody can enter the competitions, and you've knocked a couple in yourself, Catherine, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've played in the ones that I can do. Often they clash with a lot of team events, and we tend, especially last season, to do quite well in the team events as a club indoors. But I think they're absolutely brilliant. That I would never ever turn up to an event and be able to pick a winner from the draw that's gone out. There's a number of good names in it that could win it, a number of surprises that could be made. You get people that enter every single one of the events, and it's a lifestyle, isn't it, for those that enter every event, and it's absolutely fantastic the way everything's done, the way it's now streamed on YouTube, Facebook and whatnot. I think it's doing wonders for the sport. I really do.
Have you entered many, Lorraine?
Yeah, I've entered a few, mainly sort of down locally. I think it's, if you live Midlands, it's perfect, isn't it? If you live in the Midlands, you could be going to one nearly every weekend, and the more there are, the better, because obviously every area will have their fair share of attempts. But I've been in a couple. I really enjoy it, and probably something I've craved for years, really, being able to play in among men on a level playing field, shorter competitive format. I played a live stream game down at Dolphin against a young Welsh lad, Jarrod Breen, who I'm sure lots of people know, and it was a really good game, like really enjoyable, and it's an opportunity for us to showcase what we can do. And if we could get the more animated females, especially in those events, and to show that we are loud as well sometimes, and
Oh, not loud, Lorraine, are you?
Well, occasionally. Only if I've got something to be loud about, so, not so often, actually. But, I think it's good if we can get out there that we've got character too. And, it's a really good opportunity. It's just a shame you don't see as many women enter it as you'd like, really. And I think the perception probably is because they should be playing like athletes and that kind of stuff, which, of course, you want to represent your counties and clubs. So it's just getting that balance right, probably.
Do you not think Catherine hit the nail on the head, though, as to why there's not many women play? Because they look at that 22.50 entry or whatever it is around that mark and say, well, I'm not going to pay that money to go up against the men.
Potentially, and if that is the reason, then I think that's a shame, because
I agree,
they should be seeing it as an opportunity to test themselves. I don't have any kind of preconception that I'm going to go on and win the tournament. It's about testing yourselves and going out against these good players and seeing what you can do. And the format is so short, 7 ends, and then you get a tiebreak. You could win a set 4-3, lose the next one 14-0, and you're level.
Well, you are more than capable of winning the tournament, though, Lorraine, and it's all about just getting in there. And like you said, you've got to get in there and look at the people who are winning the tournaments and say, well, what are they doing differently to me? What have I got to do to just get tweak that little extra edge out of my game to try and compete with these? Do I need to attack a little bit more than what I am doing? Yeah. And one thing I'd say about the two of you, and again, I'm not being derogatory to the women's game here, the reason for me why you two do as well as what you do, because you adopted the men's game at an early age. And I mean that on the basis of you're not going to stand there and try and draw within an inch and a half. If you're 7 down, you're just going to get on the mat and you're going to smash it. And we'll laugh about that, but I've seen it. You look at some of the women playing and they're like 7 balls within about 5.5 inches, and I would just draw down there on the forehand. I'd be loading the cannon and I'd be booting it as quick as I could just to try and scatter as much as I could. And that's one thing that you have done. And for me, Ellen, when she came on the scene, was exactly the same. She adopted a very attacking game, and it's no surprise that you do as well as what you do by adopting those tactics, because you still see it now. You see women shaking their head when you play fire. I play fire in women's balls. Hold on here. Umpire. When we joke about it, you'll agree, though. Yeah, I bet you agree. I bet you've seen it.
On a serious note with all of this, there is nothing better for not necessarily just a woman, but somebody who wants to improve their game or that is learning the sport. There is nothing better to play against top-class male players or alongside them. And I think that's been... for every woman that's been successful in the game, it's probably come from learning from men. And I don't think anyone would disagree with that. I started playing under 25 double rink when I was 7, 8, 9 years old. I was the only girl in the team. My dad was the coach of the juniors at Ipswich at the time. And I grew up playing with the boys that were 17, 18, 19. But I learned so much, and it does. You're not going to progress, you're not going to learn, you're not going to develop your game by playing alongside people of the same standard or lower. You need to put yourself out against those that are better than you, that are successful, that are consistent, and that you're going to learn from.
And it shines through. You can spot it from a mile away, because the success you've had down at Warner's, down at Kuhl and Ireland, for example, the amount of times you've won that, you will not have played well every single game that you've played down there to win that tournament. You'll have gone through games where you've had to dig deep and play absolutely ugly balls to get yourself out of trouble. And that's the difference. It's knowing how to battle and win and play the right shots at the right time and be confident in the shot that you're going to play as well. Because it's all very well sort of saying you could run yourself off the green, but you need to know when is the right time to do it, or when is the time to flick that switch and say, well, I'm not going to beat her on the draw. I'm just going to, I'm going to play more attacking and change my game to suit what I need to do to beat the opponent. And that shines through. You can see it all the time with you two. It's, you do that, and you do play a lot more attacking than what you see generally in the women's game.
I completely agree, and I think there's been numerous times where you win games and you win ugly, and there's nothing wrong with that. It takes more character to win ugly than it does to win easy.
I always win ugly. I just have to turn up.
I think
I've forgotten what it's like to win easy. I only win ugly.
I think Hayland Island's the best example for that, because you both know, and I know how much I detest a heavy green with no lines in it that you've got to just chuck up the middle. That's my worst nightmare. But you almost have to embrace the fact that it is that rubbish and that difficult to play on as well. The easy shots are not on there. Sometimes a bowl 18 inches away wins on there. There's runs, there's wriggles, there's all sorts of quirks with it. But, you know, you do just have to embrace that you're not going to be perfect all the time. And especially for me, that's been really difficult, as I am sort of a perfectionist when it comes to indoor bowls especially. And I think that's why, you know, you do have to accept and learn to win.
And you do it well.
Thanks.
Well, yeah, the proof's in the pudding at the end of the day, and I've always said you won't play well all of the time, so you've got to find other ways to win games. Sorry, Richie, do you want to ask anything based on that open singles?
No, you're all right, mate.
The David Bolt show.
Well, yes, there you go.
His head won't fit through the doorway if he carries on.
We just point him in the right direction and away he goes, man.
Wind him up and let him go.
That's the one. Like the old little clattering teeth, just stick them on the desk and let them rattle on.
Are you finished?
Yeah. Oh, were you listening? No.
We could do this all night,
Or
actually.
is he still going at the end? It's like Gavin and Stacey, the best bits, isn't it?
Well, he's good at stuffing turkeys, you know.
Yeah, I'm good at stuffing turkeys. I've stuffed a few every time.
Thanks.
What? Talk about dinners. Anyway. Moving on. Turn into celebrity juice this.
You'll know Keith Lemon.
Well, it's been great having you on the show. And it's competition time, and once again, thanks very much for Alex Marshall Sports, who sponsor these competitions. And the question for this podcast is, KatherineRednall has won 6 indoor Champion of Champions competitions. Where is the venue that it is hosted? That's your question. If you can drop us a line, either by email on wrong.bias@hotmail.com, on Twitter as a message, or on Facebook, either via the page or again via message. Good luck, and we will let you know what the prize is on the Facebook page.
And now it's a little England chat.
Right then, moving on. Lorraine, obviously you've made it into the elite squads over the last couple of years. What's your thoughts, having been involved in that and been in and around that elite level with the men and the women? How do you feel it all sort of pieces together with regards integration and things like that?
I think that at that level we've got it spot on, actually, and it's just getting better and better. John's a great addition to the Met. We were very fortunate to have done some preparation for Oz before we knew it wasn't going ahead, and we spent a lot of time as a 10-man team, and along with the 4 management posts, and we were lucky to kind of get a lot of time with the males as well on the green. That's really beneficial for us. So I think it's working really well, and I think we can learn a lot from the high performance men, and if we get that opportunity, it's only going to make us stronger with that on and off the green, you know, sitting and talking about preparation, about everything around the green, not just the game, but how we maybe prepare, how we maybe analyse our opposition prior to the game, how we think about where we're going and characteristics there are at different venues, just how men approach tactic like re-spotted tee. We did a little bit of a session in Desborough, and there was an end where we were talking about what shot selection, and the guys were like, well, we'd cover the tee with our first bowl and then we'd play the shot, and we were like, oh yeah, like we probably wouldn't think about doing that because it's the men's confidence to know that if they were trying to get the tee with one bowl, they'd get it, and then they'd have enough confidence to also hit the head with one bowl and get the result they wanted. And all of that stuff is just really useful. And I think at high performance level, we're really fortunate to be able to tap into people like Nikki and Sam and get their experience and improve our game all the more, really. So we are treated equally, and we're one team, and that's how it should be. So for us in the high performance, it's a great opportunity, really.
It's good. I mean, I hope, and from obviously being a part of now on the outside of it, obviously we've got the new CEO who's just started with Bowls England, and I would like, obviously in the future, it's going to be now, rather than seeing a team collected on an indoor surface trying to prepare for Australia Greens. I think we've, certainly seen it firsthand. You have as well. It doesn't particularly. It gives you a pace in your arm, but it's never ever going to prepare you for that. So I hope the CEOs coming from hockey. I hope there's a little bit more for the elite teams to get out and actually be able to try and play on those surfaces and have some, join these 8 tests where there's 8 different countries go out and playing competitive balls out there, because that's the key thing. I mean, even when we went out prior to the Commonwealth Games, Catherine, we went out for a test series, and that was still really, really hard because we literally got off the plane and we hit the Australians straight away, didn't we? And it was just quite demoralising in a lot of respects. And you want that opportunity to really build your confidence and have 5-6 days before taking on the Australians and showing that you can come across onto their surface and match them at everything that they do, because psychologically that's going to put you in a much better position when you get over there for the main championships, the Worlds or the Commonwealths, and it makes them think differently about you rather than just thinking they've got the psychological edge of giving you a hiding the last time. But I'm sure, like I say, I'm more than confident John's got the right processes in place. Can only sort of do or deal with the hand that you're given at the moment, and obviously indoors the closest you're going to get to that.
The women's teams, indoors and outdoors, they look pretty solid at the minute, and I can see us dominating for quite a while.
Yeah, I think we're really fortunate. We've got fantastic teams. I think both indoor and out, really solid. I think what's really improved the last couple of years, in my view, I mean, outdoors, I've been in the team for about 8 or 9 years now, but the last 2 or 3 years, I've felt that the team spirit's just been amazing.
Yeah.
And when we're in those games that, for me, there's like no better feeling than having your England shirt on and you're out there and you're in a battle and it's close. You're playing Scotland to win the series and you're all out there together. And I think the last 2 or 3 years, it's really felt like we're out there as 24 and we're all fighting for each other, and the reserves and the team manager. It's really felt like when we're in that difficult situation and we've had to dig it out, we're a really solid team now, and we know each other sort of on and off the green, which I think helps.
Yeah.
Same indoor as well, I think. Catherine, do you agree?
Yeah, massively. I think indoors in particular, we were. I don't think anyone would mind me saying it or disagree that there were a couple of years where we went through a patch where we didn't probably do as well as we should have done. But teams shake around, putting people in different positions, mixing all the rinks around. It's built a far closer unit and a far more balanced unit as well to I think what we had before. Things do get stale. You could have the best rink on paper ever, and that you couldn't pick a better team on paper, but sometimes it just doesn't work. And I think a shake-up we've had indoors, not too much of it, to be honest, just a few changes here and there has really made a difference. I think outdoors, definitely, you do feel as one unit. Like Lorraine said, there's nothing better than going out indoors in a series and fighting Scotland for the title. Obviously, I wasn't involved in it last year, but I'm back in, was meant to be back in the team this year in a different rink. So I can't wait to, get that rescheduled and get back out there outdoors.
Do you think with the women's team, obviously, let's go back maybe 10 years, maybe even 15, where you've had some of the the old guard who's been in that team for the long time prior to that, and then you've started to have a feed of young blood coming through the team. Just as an example, and I'm not singling her out here because I think the world of her, but do you think Danny Martinson would have got in the team 10 or 15 years ago based on how she portrays herself on the green?
I don't think Danny would have any problem, and will probably say it herself, but how the game's evolved with characters and people that are playing in the team at the moment, it's very, very different. Danny brings so much life to a team. Love Danny to bits. But, I think I was next to Danny's rink at Falcon every game, and it's such a lift. It's absolutely brilliant. It's not what you would have maybe had as the England team, if you want to call it indoors, 10, 15 years ago. And there's some very different names, but I think to be up against the likes of Scotland, who are really up for you, right in your face, there's nothing better than having a rink and characters in that team that really, really do lift you. And
that's why I mentioned Danny, because when you think probably 10 or 15 years ago, there was still probably that little sort of, prim and proper is the wrong word, but very studious type sort of players in the team who probably wouldn't have responded as well to the way Danny plays her balls, plays tremendous balls, but is very vocal and is a great person for the team. Question whether she would have fit into that team 10 or 15 years ago than what she would now. I can't imagine they would bring somebody with her character into that team back then, if you know what I mean. I think now you've got such a great young group, and you're now starting to really, really sort of come to fruition, not just with your balls, but as a team. You're not just there rolling balls up every part of that team is backing each other 100%, shouting across the green. The atmosphere is tremendous. As long as that continues, England probably will dominate because, unless one of the other home nations start to build that, but it's not something that happens overnight, in my opinion.
No, I think you're right in that there's become an acceptance that it's not just about being able to nail the jack every end. Obviously, if we can all, if you're an international, you can play bowls, but you need to be. There's hundreds of people across the country that can play the game. It's about bringing that something more, passion, pride. When you're on that green and you're playing for England, you're not playing for yourself. You're not out there thinking, oh well, if I get it, great. It's about playing for 24 people. It's about playing for your country. And I think you're right. 10 years, 10 years we're on, and I think there's a bit more acceptance now that actually there's other things that can win you games. Just coming across as a unit can buy you 10, 15 shots before anything else has happened. And I think you're right, that has moved on, and it's a plus because we need those people in our teams, and it only lifts like the other people on the green, really.
I think Lorraine's hit the nail on the head when she says about the unit part. It is now a unit, and speaking to the Scottish, some of the Scottish characters that I've played against for years, they know what's coming. Or with a team 10 years ago, they knew what was coming. They knew who they were playing. The rink stayed fairly similar. They knew what to expect. They knew how to get under certain people's skin. But now they've got a team which is a unit, which has got so many different characters in, so many different styles of bowls, so many mixes within a rink, that actually you really don't know what to expect. And if you're Scotland walking onto the green again, some of our rinks that have really had a shake-up in the last couple of years, you're going to be hit with a bang because you just don't play the same people every year. You don't know what to expect and what's coming from them.
Yeah, and I've touched on this, previously. You see it every year. You go for your trials, the team's picked, and you see the comments on Facebook from some of the players. It's to say, I can't believe I haven't got in again. I had a great trial, but we've just talked about it there. It's not necessarily putting 24 of the best players in a team. You could have 24 world beaters, but if they can't play for each other or are not compatible or don't shout across from rink 1 across to rink 6 to say, well played to a ball that's happened over there, and encourage the whole team across the green, then you'll never ever create a winning mentality, because being there, you put what you class as your 4 best players in a club together. How many times does it fall flat? Because there's so many different opinions what shots need to be played, and you start to question, are you playing the right shot while the other 3 are standing down the bottom talking about it? And it just creates a negative impact throughout the whole rink and the team. So I've always said I'd rather have 24 players who will go out there and absolutely give everything on the green than 24 players who just think they're the best players who should be out there.
Do you not think there's players, though, who it's not in the character to be vocal? I mean, I think Leeds are the quietest players on the rink. The lead. I'm quiet on the rink when I was leading in. It's not in my nature.
But you don't need to be vocal, Richie, to be compatible in a rink. I mean, you can actually say nothing apart from maybe 6 or 7 words in a game. Yeah. But my opinion is those 6 or 7 words will bring quality and something that you need to hear. Could be a really bad time that's going through. And I think we've talked about it before. There's times in a game where things aren't going particularly well and somebody's not playing well, and it just takes maybe that lead to walk over to your second and just say, put their arm around them or give them a pat on the back and say, you can do this, don't worry about it. Just do what you can. So that's what I was sort of meaning by that. I don't mean 24 players going on there and screaming and shouting. I just think you've got to have compatibility through the ring, so that every single stage where we've talked about the positions, that Skip walks down there to play his last ball and he knows he has got the 110% batting at the front 3 in front of him.
Yeah, it's not all about noise, and it's getting that right mix about having, every rink needs like an anchor player or maybe 2. I was really fortunate, not last season, but the one before, I had Carol Baker in my rink, international, who literally doesn't really say a lot in the game, but she is absolutely solid as a rock. She gets bowls in the head every single end. But you all feel safe because you've got a Carol in your rink. And you've got that.
Everyone needs a Carol in their rink.
It's about getting that mix. We don't want, if we had 24 like me and Danny running up and down and screaming and shouting, that would probably be an absolute disaster. And But also, if you had 24 people not opening their mouths, that probably wouldn't work either. So it's getting that balance across the team, and I think we're really, really lucky to have that across all of the 6 rinks, to be honest.
You've obviously got a really good selection team there as well, because it's a massive job for them to ensure that they get that balance right, so that they can mix those quieter players in the rink with people who they know are not going to maybe frustrate them during the game by being too loud, etc., etc. So it's getting that happy balance as well about playing the right players with, in the right positions. So they're obviously doing a great job there as well. And I think to cap it off as well, you've just got some phenomenal young players coming through, which are also knocking the door down every single season, which can only be good for you as well, because you need that competition for places just to keep you focused. It's quite easy for you guys now to go out there and just think, well, we've done it year after year after year. Let's just have a bit mess about. But you don't. You go out and you're professional, and you know that if you don't play to your best, you're going to lose your position in a lot of respects.
You touched on about not getting selected probably 10 or 15 years ago, like said Danny. But do you not think it's one of my old favourite sayings? Back in my time, sorry ladies. Back when I was a lad, there was the old starch hats and the white gloves. I mean, do you not think it's the move from what I used to call the Blue Rinse Brigade, and the people that's now come forward, been there and done it a little bit, so that they know what you need to do and they give you a little bit more leeway?
I think when you compare the game to how it was back in even the Blazer ages, I know some counties are still in the Blazer ages and they still choose to do that, which is, it's absolutely fine. But, if you spoke to my grandma, who was part of the Blue Rinse era, if you want to call it, where they had to have their skirt length measured and whatnot, and wear the gloves. They had to have a travelling pair of white trousers to go on the bus and a playing pair of white trousers, or white skirts as they were even, but trousers when they got brought in. I think you look at that and you compare it to now, there's just no comparison whatsoever.
I think they should bring it back. I think you two would look great in a nice pleated grey skirt.
Starched hat.
I did
bring
actually
back the hats.
have a blazer. When I played for Suffolk Johns, we still had to have the blazers. And I think this was the first year I got in John's team, and I borrowed my grandma's, and it said that we'd won the Walker Cup in 1992, and I wasn't born until 1996.
You did well.
But you had to have the blue shoes that matched the blue blazer, and it was just ridiculous. It was a time when they cared more about what you looked like getting on the bus than where you chucked your bowls.
If that was in place now, would the two of you have taken the game up?
My blazer won't go round my chest, so that's a real issue for me. I don't, my blazer when I was 15, 16 would have fit like a young boy. Now it's not going round. It's not going round my chest. So there's no doubt.
I'd have to put a white skirt up to my armpits for it to be the right length.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Now it's just bowls or balls. Nothing can go wrong. I mean, it's not as if the lad who thought up of the idea forgot the rules. Just Dennis Norton still do that. It'll be all right on the night show. Enjoy.
Richie's favourite, bowls or balls. So, 5 questions. I'll start with you, Redders. Balls is true, balls is false.
Sorry?
So if you think the answer to the question is true, you say balls. Sorry, no, you don't. If you think the answer to the question is true, you say balls.
Pass me my rifle.
If you think it's false, you say balls.
Right.
Happy with that?
Happy.
Balls for true, balls for false.
Better get
They
5.
both sound the same with your accent.
Yeah, I was going to say, you just sound like you're saying the same.
Yes, we're gonna try and change this in the future. I can sense Richie's frustration. Right, here we go.
Out the window.
You've got 4 to beat. It's 5 questions, and last week Stephen Beamish got 4. So
Is it
the
general
target.
knowledge or is it bowls related?
Just general knowledge.
Oh dear.
Absolutely. So.
Catherine,
What's the worst score?
1.
There's only been 2 so far. Somebody got worse. Scott Morland got 1, and Stephen Beamish got 4. So that's your target.
Don't worry, I'll set it for you now, Lorraine.
Let's go, Redders. Are we ready?
Yep.
Mount Kilimanjaro is the highest mountain in the world.
Bull.
Strictly Come Dancing first aired in 2005.
Oh my goodness me. Balls.
A group of swans is known as a bevy.
Balls.
Sydney is the capital of Australia.
Balls.
The penny black is an old-fashioned coin.
Balls.
You get them, Richie?
Well, I just said with balls and balls to me.
I must admit, I was hoping it was coming across a little bit clearer.
There was definitely a B there,
I'm
and
not gonna lie,
helmet.
if I wasn't sure, I'd just shout balls at you. So
There was definitely a B in there and an S.
Oh, God.
I think you got 5 there, Catherine.
no, I didn't.
Unbelievable, yeah. Unbelievable.
Are you serious?
So, we'll try and be a bit clearer here. Mount Kilimanjaro is the highest mountain in the world. What did you say?
Balls.
Is that balls or balls?
Balls.
This is not going well, Richie.
So I'm out the window. Mate.
Is that with an O or with an A?
Oh God. An A.
So you went with balls. Yeah, you were right. So it was balls. Strictly Come Dancing first aired in 2005.
I can't remember what I said now.
Began with a B.
I think I said balls to that as well.
Yes, you were right. It was 2004. Is this gonna clip together? All right, Richie.
Clip
It's gonna
together.
take
It's on the
about
floor,
45
I'm not
mate.
going to
It's just-
shout balls at you anymore.
A group of swans known as a bevy. Did you say balls or balls?
Balls for that.
You were right. That's 3 out of 3.
She's going to get a 5. Oh, my goodness.
Sydney is the capital of Australia. You said balls for that one.
Definitely balls. Yeah.
That's Canberra. And the penny black is an old-fashioned coin, and you said balls again, didn't you?
Yeah, I wasn't sure, so I just shouted balls.
You were right. 5 out of 5.
Come on.
It's actually a stamp.
Oh, no.
No pressure, Lorraine.
I'll get 0, guaranteed.
That's the best.
Oh,
Let's
the
see if we
best.
Let's see if we can make it as smooth as the last one.
So I either say, what is it again? It's balls if it's true.
Balls for true or balls. And try and put a bit of emphasis on the "o."
Balls.
Balls.
Balls or balls.
Here we go. Will.i.am is the only mentor to have appeared on every series of The Voice.
Balls.
A heptagon has 8 sides.
Balls.
Fish can't blink.
Balls.
Last Christmas by Wham reached number 1 during Christmas 1984 period.
Oh, before I was born. Balls.
And the Guinness World Record for most fingers and toes at birth is 14 fingers and 20 toes in total.
Balls.
Was that you?
I know it's false because I've got more.
Well, my calculations, you got 3 out of 5 because you said balls to the first one. He has been on every series of The Voice. Heptagon is 8 sides. You said balls, which is correct. Fish can't blink. You said balls, didn't you?
I said that was true.
Yeah, that's fine. Fish can't blink. You're right. Last Christmas was balls. They only got to number 2 and you said balls. And it was true that somebody was born with 14 fingers and 20 toes. And it wasn't
No.
you.
That's
Yep.
awful.
Really?
All right. That's why Richie's 6'10".
Well, that went nice and smoothly.
Yeah, if you start editing that now, we might get it out just before broadcast. Well, no, that's been great, guys. Thank you so much. Been a good laugh.
It's been a pleasure.
I hope we covered what you wanted to cover, and like I say, it was we didn't want it to just be the same old boring stuff, so I thought we'd just have a good crack and see where it went. We shall let you get on with your lives, and it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been lovely catching up with you both again. I'm sure
Thank
we'll.
you.
I'd like to say the same thing, but
I know. It's
Just say
hard. I
thank
know.
you. Just say thank you. It covers
Yeah.
everything. If you just say
All the
cheers,
best.
thanks. Just covers it all.
Well, I'll just tie it up by saying it's been great having you both on the show, and thanks once again for coming on.
thanks ever so much, Bowie.
Thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
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 That's us done. Thanks, girls.
Thank
you.
Bye.
See you later.
And wait for it.
How do I get out of this?
Another blooper.
Kick
Oh,
you out.
I'm going.
Right, mate, another one over. It was a smashing little chat we had with Catherine and Lorraine.
It was, yeah.
It's nice to see a couple of young ladies who's got personalities within the game.
You've just took the words out of my mouth there, Richie. I've known them both for a lot of years, and sometimes you don't, never get to see the characters and the personality, but they are they're massive in the sport, and it was nice to see and have a bit of a laugh. The personalities come out during the conversation. So yeah, it was thoroughly enjoyed it, and as always, it was just like having a catch up over a drink, really.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Not much chat this time, so till the next time.
Until the next time.
Well,
Yep, certainly
right.
will.
Well,
You take care, mate.
Yep, same to you. Keep safe, everybody. Ta-da.
Cheers, bye.
Thank you for listening and hope you've enjoyed the show.
This has been a Dodgy production.